Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Janine Harry, a communication scientist by profession, here to give you communication tips and self awareness strategies through conversation. So, thank you so much for joining me. And in this particular YouTube video, I am going to be discussing the ways in which you can deal with rejection. Now, rejection has become a sort of buzzword as of late. And I just know that when you hear the word rejection, you are probably thinking about rejection in the context of romantic relationships, in terms of being rejected by a crush or being rejected by your boyfriend or your girlfriend, and so forth. However, rejection happens in many contexts, okay? It doesn't just happen within the context of romantic relationships. It does happen within platonic relationships. For example, you may want to pursue a friendship with somebody, and your offer of friendship may be rejected. You may want to have a better relationship with a sibling or with a cousin, and the familial aspect of your relationship will be rejected. Rejection also happens within professional contexts as well. For example, you may apply for a particular vacancy and you might get that rejection email that says, I regret to inform you that your application will no longer be considered for this position. So, that is, of course, an example of vacancy rejection. You might also experience promotion rejection, to the point where you wanted a particular promotion and you never got that promotion. Rejection also takes place within societal contexts where you are holistically, in terms of your physicality and your personality, you are being rejected. So, rejection does not just take place within the context of romantic relationships, it takes place in many different types of contexts under many different circumstances and situations. And it is at this point that I'd also like to make a little disclaimer. Now, rejection is a very complex situation, or it's a very complex sort of dilemma and situation within society. And there are many different ways in which we can speak about rejection and approach the topic of rejection. Now, when I say that rejection is complex, what this means is that you may have done something really bad. And because of what you have done, you may be rejected because of that, or you will be rejected because of that. And within those situations, you shouldn't really be questioning why you are rejected. Your rejection will be quite obvious, point blank. You will also find that unethical forms of rejection happens. For example, somebody might be outcasted from a community because of their race or their ethnicity or their background or their culture. So racial rejection is another form of rejection that happens within society. But for the scope of this particular video, I will not be speaking about these very complex, serious, and unethical forms of rejection. Instead, I will solely be speaking about the everyday normal forms of rejection that we have all experienced at some other point in our lives, and how we can overcome those forms of rejection, whether we are currently experiencing it or whether we are still processing the hurt from any type of rejection that we have experienced in the past. So let's get right into it. Now, when you are rejected, it is so easy to feel like there's something wrong with you, that you are somehow flawed. Okay, so for example, if you are a woman with blonde hair and your crush rejects you for a woman who is a brunette, you might end up hating your hair color. You might think that your hair color and your physicality is somehow flawed. If you have applied for a job and you are rejected for that position, you might start to hate, your skill set. You might start to think that your skill set and what you are skilled at is an example of all that is flawed. However, what you need to understand is that rejection has got absolutely nothing to do with you. Instead, it has more to do with the person that is doing the rejection. It actually gives you insight about the person and their needs, because all that rejection actually is the fact that it happens within contexts where someone has an ideal idea of who they want as a part of their life and inner circle in terms of a friend, a partner, or a professional candidate. So, for example, if you are rejected by your crush because you have blonde hair, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the color of your hair. It simply means that your crush likes brunettes more. If you are rejected because of your skill set, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the ways in which you are skilled or there's anything wrong with your credentials. It just simply means that the company has specific needs which you cannot meet. So, rejection is not about you being flawed in any way, shape, or form. It says more about the needs of the other person, and it is okay if you cannot meet those particular needs. Now, at some or other point in all of our lives, we have been rejected. And it is so important for us to shift the ways in which we look at rejection, because the perspective we hold about the various forms of rejection that we have been subjected to really matters. It is so important to move out of the space of thinking about rejection through the lens of a disempowering feeling, and we need to move into this space of thinking about rejection in a more empowered sense. So when you are rejected and you immediately associate that rejection with something being wrong with you, you being flawed, and so forth, that is an extremely disempowering perspective to hold. However, when you understand that rejection simply means that somebody has needs which you cannot currently meet, that is a much more empowering perspective to hold, and it is a perspective that you should hold. What you need to understand is that you do not have to change who you are to meet a need. This doesn't mean that you should not make the relevant changes if you can and if need be. However, if you really cannot meet a need, if you really do not fit into the criteria of what somebody wants, or who somebody wants within their life and inner circle, you have got to accept that, and you have got to allow those people to align with situations, circumstances, and individuals that are able to meet their needs. Now, I would like to share an extremely surprising truth about rejection. And the truth is that rejection is experienced negatively by both the rejected and the one doing the rejection. Let me make a little bit of an example. Okay. Let's say, for example, somebody starts their own company and they get to a position whereby they would love to hire staff to work for them. When they put out the vacancy ad, they are definitely expecting to receive applications from candidates who are able to meet their professional needs. So when they receive a ton of applications from candidates who do not have, the skill set that they are looking for, they also feel really bad. They also feel negatively about that situation. They also feel rejected. So it is also a very difficult experience for that person to send out the email to inform the candidate that the application for a job will not be considered any further. Another example, when your crush rejects you, they feel really bad because in an ideal world, they would have loved to have you as a partner in their life. They would have loved to pursue a relationship or to be in a relationship. So when you are unable to meet their needs, they feel really bad about that. They are thinking, oh, do I have to be single for the next year once again? So doing the rejection doesn't mean that the person that is doing it feels empowered, whereby the person that is being rejected is at the same time, feeling the opposite. disempowered? No. Both parties experience rejection negatively. The person doing the rejection experiences it negatively, as well as the person experiencing the rejection. Now, I'm going to share a little bit of a personal story with you guys. So, as a woman, having this particular gender as female, I know that women are admired, glorified, and accepted for the way they look. So, when a woman has her hair done, her nails done, or is dressed in a certain way that meets the standard of beauty within society, she definitely experiences this form of being included within society as opposed to experiencing societal rejection. And I've always said this to the closest people in my life. Although I know that women are glorified for the way they look, for having their nails done, their hair done, and for following certain fashion trends, I will never buy into that, okay? I will never get my hair done every single day. I will never do my nails every single week. And I will never buy into the latest fashion trends because I am always going to wear whatever makes me feel comfortable. Am I going to get rejected in certain situations because of the way I choose to present myself? Of course. But the big question is, am I going to allow that to make me feel like I am flawed? Of course not. I completely understand that people have their preferences and their needs, and I am not going to change who I am physically to meet those needs. I choose to walk in my power and to remain exactly who I am because I always say, someone is going to catch your vibe, okay? Someone's going to catch your vibe, and that's all that matters. So, I hope that this particular video will be instrumental in helping you deal with any sort of rejection that you may have experienced in the past and any forms of rejection that you will experience in the future. And it is at this point that I'd love to leave you with a quote of wisdom, like I always do. And today's quote comes from Dr. Steve Maraboli, and it has always been a favorite quote of mine. And he says, every time I thought I was being rejected from something good, I was actually being redirected to something better. And I absolutely love that. Guys, thank you so much for making it this far in the video. If you'd love to stay in touch, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Instagram at Infinity Communications. You can check out my blog posts at janineharry90.wordpress.com, or you can email me at janineharry90 at gmail.com. Till next time, much love.